to ink this grendel with his arm ripped off. 1 sec, let me grab smock. Excuse me. Okay, so I think this angle's what we're going to be working with. I mean, that's the best I can do, I think, presently. Yeah, all right, so let's get after it, I suppose. I need a piece of paper. Make sure I don't smudge this anymore. All right, pretty dirty. This, I did this on an illustration that I did. I was going to be making a comic book for my girls. That ended up taking way too much time. My daughter lost interest in Wonder Woman before we could complete the comic book. When you're a one-man show, that's how it goes sometimes. All right, I'm gonna just apply this principle of once you get the eye, everything falls into place after that, which is James Gurney quote. He was doing an illustration of a little dinosaur. I guess it was a hatchling, or it was hatching out of an egg. So we're maybe in a technical realm. So Grendel is a big scary monster, but here you can see his expression is not one that's menacing. He's actually, this is the first time Grendel I guess not, I mean, if you read the John Gardner? Yeah. If you read the John Gardner book of Grendel, he's been scared before this ever happened, but Gardner does a good job of humanizing the monster. It's pretty cool. But we're not really trying to humanize me and Frank Fucile are not trying to humanize Grendel here. We are just trying to have a monster. For the most part. And then, but it's a monster who shows fear when he realizes that he's made a mistake this time when he broke into Hrothgar's hall, Heathar, and snuck up on the wrong guy, the wrong person. Okay, so that's a snake there. I'm trying to make it look dirtier, make Grendel look dirtier and gross, more gross. This is a, what's this bone called? I can't recall what it's called. But anyway, I'll look it up because I want to remember taking Proco anatomy course, and I want to make sure that I actually learn what I'm paying to learn, not just take the course to say took the course. Just a pretty foolish way to approach a thing. But I really do like it so far. Okay, I'm gonna figure out more ways to make this sort of gross in here. Grendel is holding a one of Hrothgar's soldiers' heads over here in his remaining hand. And then when I color this stuff, I might be able to just find additional ways to make the dirtiness stand out. I'm gonna do ink washes over top of this as well to get more tonal variation. This is the big snake. Did I have the big snake wrap around the shoulder? I think that might actually be cool. So I'll go ahead and do that. I'm gonna have this big snake is going around here. I don't want the snake to be goes like this, which means this goes like here. I don't want the snake's body to be too, like the lines to be too straight, because if they are, then it's not going to look very organic. And I want this to be very organic looking. I want these illustrations to have a really organic feel to them. I don't want anything to look like it's too mechanical. So, way to do that is to kind of use the brush to create different widths of line strokes. Pardon. Got a lot of pollen out here these days, so creating a little bit of some allergy issues for me. And the snake here. Okay, so this, yeah, that's good. It sort of tapers off, and maybe in fact what I'll do is kind of get it going that way and decide if I want to make it a rattlesnake. Give it a little rattle. That'll make it a little bit more interesting to look at, but then also allow us, or give me another thing that I can use as a way to push the viewer's eye into Grendel's face, which is the focal point of this. So sorry if this is bouncing around a bit. I'm doing my best to keep this in the frame. At some point, if this continues to be the way that I work, then I will make adjustments to try to get this more steady and everything. But for now, I just need to get to work so I can get this stuff done so I can move on to the next thing. Okay, this is, I don't know, a leech or something. And then we've got, leave that arm alone for a minute. Sort of try to, this is like rib area. There's his abs, abdominal area. I don't want it to be too defined because he's just, you know, a monster who eats a lot of people. He's just constantly eating people, so he, you know, he's packed on a few extra pounds. Just probably good since it gets really cold in the winter where he's at. So he's been storing up energy, his fat stores. This gives him a nice a soft stomach. That's the word I was looking for. Soft. A soft stomach. It's not his stomach, is it? It's anatomically incorrect. If we could see his stomach, he would have a problem of some kind. Alrighty, get this around here. Perfect. That. So you can see here that I didn't do the illustration all the way down to his feet. There wasn't really any reason to do that. I'd rather have more detail and stuff going on farther up. Here we got the headless soldier, this neck skin, frayed where it got ripped, and his, what I've been calling hauberks, his hauberk here, and then I'm just doing a I don't know if I'm gonna, I'll leave that alone for a minute here and then make a decision about the make a decision about the I don't know. Whether I'm going to do something with the hand or whatever in a bit. So I don't need a ton of the chain links here, because in the previous illustration, or coloring the Hrothgar illustration that I did previously, I talked about how this is happening inside of Heathar, which is Hrothgar's Great Hall, his, I don't know, party cabin. Excuse me. So they had basically relegated to using firelight of some kind, so torches or candles or whatever, and that meant that the light, when you're inside a dark place with candlelight or torchlight or any kind of flame, is that the fire is not a static, steady light in the way that we have static, steady lights with no motion. And that actually creates some opportunities for, excuse me, to play around with the way the light looks, which I think is awesome. It's very fun because it doesn't have to be quote unquote real. It can be different. And you can use that light, this candle light, to kind of just accentuate or de-emphasize the things that you want to call more. You can de-emphasize the things that you don't want to have a lot of attention called to them. I mean, you know, that can be because you made a mistake. Which is, I mean, I guess one way of looking at it is that all art really is just a mistake anyway. None of it is real, you know. None of us are drawing the actual thing that we're making shapes to represent. As in, and what I mean by that is not that like someone can't do a very, very detailed and convincing what's the word? Like a photorealist image. I mean, those are amazing, and they can look really cool. But what those things are not are ever the thing that you're drawing. So even though you're drawing it and it looks exactly like it, you know, you draw an apple, or you paint an apple, it looks exactly like an apple, you cannot eat it because it's not an apple. It's a painting. And if you look close enough, like under a microscope, you know, no matter how photorealist it looks, eventually you see that what it's made up of. Just like if you look at an apple under a microscope, eventually it's you see the little teeny tiny microscopic parts that make it up. So it isn't what you've drawn. It isn't what you've drawn or painted. It's still a painting. Which may or may not be useful information, or may or may not be super beneficial to think about for others. But I think for me, it's a nice reminder that, you know, even the best at this stuff, no matter who it is, we're all doing the same sort of trickery. And it's not it's not with bad intentions, you know. I didn't have a great reference for for Grendel's arm in this position here. I'm wondering if you can see it on the... Yeah, you can see it, okay. So one of the ways I decided to rectify that, or rectify the confusion, was to give Grendel something to wrap his fingers around, and then it's something that has a beard. So, you know, these guys all had beards, and that gives me the ability to create something that looks interesting, and also to cover up some stuff that would otherwise have just been sort of, I don't know, maybe unclear. So, and then, you know, if this ends up still being too problematic, like if it's just so off that I can't, that it doesn't seem like it's very convincing, or doesn't seem like it's solved anything, and rather it just created more of a problem when I go into the coloring process, or which I'm going to do digitally for this. Excuse me. Then you can solve it there. Trying to get Grendel's teeth a little bit. I don't know. I think maybe he still needs to be like. Yeah, I'm not sure. We'll see. I'm not sure how happy I am with the way that's turned out, but moving on. We're gonna need to draw Grendel's mother at some point. We need to draw a dragon at some point. We got a lot of stuff ahead of us here. So if we get too caught up on perfecting any one of these things, we might end up hurting the overall the overall book by wasting too much time on things that we could have moved a bit quicker on. All right, so we have these snakes. I don't want to overdo it with the snakes. I'm going to get some more these vines back here. I don't know. I kind of envision these as poison ivy or something. I don't really know. And I want to make sure that they're varied in a way that's interesting but not silly. I guess this one is supposed to be sort of like attached to his arm, or it was, and so he's thrashing around a little bit here, and so things are kind of moving around. This definitely needs to be darker in there. It's great. It sort of looks like he has eyeshadow on, but that's okay. Maybe he did. Maybe that was his thing. It's like Johnny Depp in the Pirates of the Caribbean. I think he must have been wearing eyeshadow. It's been 100 or 200 years since I've seen that movie. The rattle. So, do we have space for that now that leaf is there? Yes, we do, but it needs to be behind it. It's probably a little bit too rattly. Too many rattles in reality, but this is not a this isn't reality. Okay. We need some more splorchiness, which is the word that I'm going to use to describe this what's happening with the blood, which I don't know. I guess Grendel's blood is red, but I don't know. So to accentuate the shoulder, I'm gonna go pretty dark in here. And then if I need to get lighter or to just like change the color, I can. Okay, so now I'm stepping back here a bit. I'm gonna get my brush, and I have my water, and I have some ink. And I'm gonna start inking this thing. I believe I will also start listening to some tunes, baby. Oh man. While I'm inking. Perfect. I'm trying to have some fun with the brush strokes too, so that it gives a little bit more visual interest. So once it gets colored, some of this stuff will create a little bit of variation in the lines, or in the tone, which I've really been really happy with. Oh, that's too dark. What is that? Da-da-da-da. I'm gonna give this guy pretty dark hair, and part of the reason is what I was already talking about, is I want to make sure that this area here is interesting, but also I want to make sure that this area isn't confusing because of the shapes. So like Grendel, the idea is he is sort of palming this guy's head. His thumb's not visible now, which I think might actually make more sense than what I had originally drawn, or what I had intended to draw anyway. Okay. Slowly starting to push things back that are farther away by making them darker. But I want to make sure that things don't get too many harsh edges, so I'm going to start softening some of them with just adding a little bit more water, and then I'm going to get some really watered down ink here. Oh, that was my plan. But I'll water it down with this, and then that will push the arm back. Let's take a look at it. All right, it came out a bit. The snake also is going to need a little bit of love from the ink. This one as well. Okay. Still get that out a bit. Let's make these abdominals a little bit. Try to get a little bit more tone in here without staining everything completely black. And then the shadow on the snakes. Okay, I think I got I want to make sure that he gets a decent ink wash with this gray, so that it looks like I don't want him to be his eyes, for instance. I definitely want his eyes to be reflecting light with a highlight for sure. But I need to make sure that everything has a little bit of tone, because I don't want him to be, I want it to seem like it's all the same sort of material. Like his skin, sorry, is the same sort of flesh everywhere, and that he isn't having a light shined on him. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. Okay. All right, and then this bone here is kind of like what I'm using as my, I don't know what I would call it. So if I was writing, some advice I got for story writing a million years ago was that you need to draw a circle around your characters, but it needs to be big enough so that people can't see it, but small enough so that, I guess also that people can't see it. So you kind of need to make choices about what to include and what to omit. And I think that the same can be said for visual art, because you can include everything, and some people do include everything. And I'm sure have success, and there's probably, include everything. I don't know. What does that mean? So like books that had tons and tons and tons of information in them, that would be seen as, I don't know, masterworks, I guess would be the word I would use. Like Ulysses, for instance, by James Joyce, or, well, I'll just leave it at that for now. There was a lot of stuff, minute details, that are included on purpose. It wasn't because James Joyce just didn't know how to write a story that was succinct. He definitely did that with other books, like Dubliners, for instance, which is a bunch of short stories. But anyway, I don't enjoy reading those. I didn't enjoy reading Ulysses because it was just like exhausting to me to read that. Whereas his short stories, one specifically called Counterparts in Dubliners, I really like that one a lot. And part of the reason, I'm sure, is because it says everything it needs to say in a very condensed space. And, of course, like the subject or themes of the story speak to me, so that enhances the experience. But with visual art, I guess I tend to also enjoy visual art that gets to the point without necessarily being overly concerned with how detailed or close to reality the image ends up being. So John Singer Sargent, which it's probably like getting corny at this point, I guess. People have been talking about him ever since I started studying art quite a bit, and I think for good reason. I really like him. I really like his work, his paintings, the watercolors and the oil stuff, portraits, etc. But not every one of his or if you look at his paintings, there's a lot of stuff that is just implied successfully. You know, he didn't need to do every single, he didn't need to show you every single part of what he actually saw in order to show you something awesome. Okay, so we're getting there. I think we are making quite a bit of progress. I'm starting to wonder if maybe I'll actually be able to color this today. I don't know. It's possible. I do still need, I think the harder work is going to be trying to figure out how to get Beowulf into the swimming contest image. So when I start drying this, or letting this dry, I might switch over to that and give this a rest for a bit. Okay. So this up here, I think, is farther away from the light mostly. But this might benefit to do this way. All right, stepping back from this. I think this is too, yeah, it's too dark right there. So I'm gonna need to try to get some of that, because the chest is, it's okay. This is not, yeah, it's supposed to be, it shouldn't be that dark. Not right there. If I blend it all the way through, let's see what happens. Perfect. Okay, so backing up here, and taking a look at this, I think, all right, so what should I say? I think he looks scared enough. I think holding the soldier's head, I definitely need this to be a bit darker. The forehead, this all needs to be darker. Grendel's fingers as well. Maybe get a highlight in there. The snake needs to be a little darker. That's all true. See that down this way is a bit darker, and then maybe, yeah, that could be basically straight up black. That could be pretty black. That, and Man, I don't know what I want to do. I don't know if I want to go... Yeah, so instead of maybe, like... this should definitely be just blood dripping from the head. And this is just gonna be super dark right here. Okay. Sorry, now this like creepy whisper McGee. Okay. So now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna let this dry, and then I'm going to go over to my work table and erase the sort of errant pencil lines over there, that the sides, because I think that's going to be it's going to help me with the coloring when I get to the coloring. And yeah, and I think so. What I'll do next is I'm going to work on the getting Beowulf into the swimming contest, which I will do offline. So for anybody who watches this or has seen this or whatever, yeah, let me get this down here and maybe show it from the correct angle. All right, yeah, next time you see this, it'll probably be colored. All right, thanks a lot.